Legoland Windsor is home to a lot of rides and attractions, and a lot of unique rides and attractions as well, many which I'd like in my ultimate UK theme park. I can tell some of these are certainly going to make the cut, but which ones would you keep and which ones would you ditch if you own the park? You're running Legoland, which ones would you be wanting to get out the door? Well, there are definitely some that we want to get rid of, and we're some that we find incredible that we want to keep. So let's have a look. Let's start with the 2021 attractions Flight of the Skyline. Now, I think this is an incredible addition to the UK theme park. Now, I will say, I do think the screen ends a little bit premature at the top, and I didn't like the way the park had cut down the movie towards the end of the season as the queues got long for it. It should theoretically have quite a high throughput. But it is just breathtaking watching a screen that big, an emotion simulator. Definitely one I'm keeping. Definitely one that could make the final 40 as well. Now, the Fire and Ice Freefall, again, absolute harmless rides. The park haven't had anything like that really. Space Tower might have been considered, but it was very manual. It certainly wasn't a drop tower, and they work really, really well down in the Mythica area. And of course, Hydra's Challenge, although wasn't new, I think is a fantastic attraction and really caps off really an area that you would want in your park. Now, one of Legoland's biggest areas has always been the driving schools. Whether it be the car one, whether it be the boat one, whether it be the balloon one, but which ones would you have in your park? Well, I have to say, I don't think there's a need to have two driving ones. I know that the little ones are for littler people. However, I think Portland's Park have kind of upped the bar a bit with their new ones which adults can ride. And I think Legoland should probably follow suit, get some new cars in and save a bit of space. I think the L drivers, the small one, needs to go, can go in the bin, something I would do, and keep the big driving one. Balloon School again is great fun, very harmless, sits very nicely, gets you off the ground, really gives you a sense of sort of flying. Whilst the Coast Guard HQ just is massive queues all the time. I know it's nice to have a little bit of freedom when you're out and about and you're, want to drive, if you will, the boat. I just don't understand it. You can't ride it singly. You need to balance the boat. It just feels like a lot of hassle. Something I would definitely get rid of from the park. Now, the park does have 3 roller coasters. It has the Dragon, which is the key roller coaster. Running 3 trains can really get the throughput through, and it's definitely a stable I'd like to see remain at the park, and it's something I'd keep at the park. If I own the park, I wouldn't retheme the outside bit, but I would keep it at the park. However, both the other coasters I would ditch. I don't understand the Dino Coaster. I still don't understand it at all. I know what we're saying, young kids get in, but the height restriction is so low for the Dragon. I just don't understand the Dino Coaster. I just don't get it in a park like Legoland. If I was going to sort of a smaller park, a seaside resort, something like that, that kind of space coaster is something I'd expect to see. But even then, from locally, they're going for much bigger than something like that. Dragon's Apprentice sits under the same boat. Legoland's one of the most visited theme parks in the UK. It can't handle the capacity. It just can't handle it. Can't have these kind of rides. So if I was in control of Legoland, I'd be ditching them both. The park has some incredible dark rides, ones that are completely different to anything else we have in the UK. Along with Flight of the Skyline, the park is home to Ninjago, which I adore. I think it's a fantastic attraction, and no idea why Merlin or anyone else hasn't put in an attraction like this. Fairly small footprint. I get it's quite expensive, technology is quite high, but I just think it's brilliant, and it's something I would definitely keep at the park. On top of that, we have the Haunted House. Now, I have to say, in terms of how Vekoma Madhouses go, it's not my favourite. However, I've got a bit of a, I don't know, I think it works at the park, worryingly. I'd love to see more to it. I think if I owned the park, I would definitely make a little bit more to it. But having that technology there and having the ability to have a high throughput ride, it doesn't feel like it's run like that sometimes, but a high throughput ride, it is definitely a ride that I would keep at the park. On the flip side, Laser Raiders is a ride that I would need to get rid of. I don't find it that interesting, to be honest with you. When you look at rides like Jewel, although we ditched that, the concept of Jewel and the scenery and Tomb Blaster, Laser Raiders feels really empty. It just doesn't seem to serve a purpose. The shooting is outdated, there's not a lot to do in there, and whilst it's a little bit interactive, if I owned the park, Laser Raiders would be gone. Now the park has a host of water attractions. The log flume there, Pirate Falls, I think is brilliant. I really do. I always think there's definitely a place for log flumes at theme parks. And the one at Legoland, again, is quite well themed, to be honest with you, with a lot of interaction along the way. Keeps it simple with one simple drop for the families. Love it. Absolutely love it. It's staying. Now, Deep Sea Adventure. I used to love this ride. Even as Atlantis, used to absolutely love it. It just feels like it's run its course, as it is. It's quite clunky to get in and out. It just doesn't feel like a lot's happening inside of it. It just felt like it was bigger when it opened. I know that sounds preposterous because it really wasn't. But you can go round now, sit in the wrong seat and just see nothing. No real scenery, no sort of fish or anything. I just think the ride needs a little bit of a rethink rather than just a coat of paint. For me, as it stands, Deep Sea Adventure would be gone. Now, Fairy Tale Brook for me is a staple of the park, fits really nicely where it is, tells a story, one great for families and children alike. Whilst Viking River Splash, again, is one I would get rid of. This ride takes up a lot of space in the park and really isn't that interesting. The problem is with rapids being the way they are now, the manpower involved in having them, you know, a lot of effects has been turned off. And whilst I think Alton Tales Run works because of the landscape it's in, the Legoland ones always looked a little bit abandoned, with the water bucket gone at the end, and even the foreign park ones having a drop or something a little bit more exciting. It just feels like it lacks and was a real missed opportunity. For me, I would save the space and I would be ditching the rapids. There's a lot of rides that are quite non-offensive and serve a purpose at the park that are different. Duplo Airport, 100% would keep. Duplo Express is great for the little kids. Desert Chase, again, is not something that, you know, is going to offend, and it fits really nicely inside the park along with Thunder Blazer. That said, the Aero Nomad and any kind of wheel at a busy park doesn't work for me, and it definitely doesn't work at Legoland either. Scarab Bouncers provides 2 bouncing drops, so again is something I would keep at the park. It's indoors, it again takes up very little space. And it is really sort of simple to get in and out of. Love it. I think it works really well at the park. And then there are some interactive rides as well, like Fire Academy, which I just think is incredible. Great fun for families. Having 2 lanes does help eat the queues on that. Definitely one I would keep in the park. For the final rides we would get rid of, that one goes to Skyrider. I think anyone that follows the channel and has seen me visit Legoland several times, 1, notices it's never open or hardly ever open. And 2, doesn't really serve a purpose at the park. I don't understand the Skyrider. And sort of back to a water ride as well, the Raft Racers, again, I haven't seen open in a long time, and I don't think serves much of a purpose at the park, much like Depth Charge at Fort Park. The capacity is so low, I would ditch it. I would just get rid of it. Other flat rides include Merlin's Challenge, which I think fits really well at the park. The Spinning Spider, which is easily the best teacups we have in the UK. Incredible. May well make the top 40 as well. Jolly Rocker fits the park really well, and even Mears Riding Adventure, although I'd like to see it just upped a little bit as it has the same height restriction as all the other ones. Maybe the spin cycle changed very slightly. As it stands, I would keep it in the park. It works quite well for what it is. And then the final attraction is the cinema, the 4D cinema. I think it's an easy win for parks to have 4D cinemas, and of course, being Lego, it does have a host of different shows, so you could go and actually watch 3 or 4 different shows in a day, let alone on your visits, and I think it works really well in having it there. So what rides would you keep at the park? If you own Legoland, which ones are you keeping, which ones are you ditching? Let us know in the comments below, and would any of these rides make it into your top 40 for your ultimate UK theme park? Thanks for joining us here on UK Theme Parks. Be sure to check back our next video where we look over Adventure Island down in Southend and move away from Merlin, on which rides we would keep and which rides we would ditch.